I'm sure they did respond. But the point is, let's just respond a little quicker and a little more to what they're really looking for. In our conversations with them, it was interesting. I actually felt that in some ways there was a good relationship between Reggae and the River and Piercy, even though I've heard them be very vocal and very negative in the past. I felt when we left that meeting as if we actually made some real headway on communicating and handling the local community. One of the biggest things they were worried about is tickets. We're going to account for the tickets. We're going to number all the armbands. We're going to be accountable for it. So they really liked that idea, and they were happy to hear it. They were also very happy that we were open to listen to their feelings about the loop in 271. Even though it's an excellent idea if you look at it from a structural standpoint, but when you actually live in the community and you have a bunch of cars in front of your driveway, that can be a problem. So they were very happy that we were willing to listen instead of dictate. So that worked out well. The other thing is, it's been a poor communication. There's been communication problems reaching the staff and actually having problems rectified. So what we decided to do is give them a direct line straight to the producer, which is myself. So people on my staff will have a direct phone to them. They can call us anytime they want. If they have something that needs to be taken care of immediately, we'll try to take care of it. That should lessen the impact on the local services, fire department, police department, whatever. So I think that's a good way to deal with it, and they seem to be happy with that. Okay, so we've pretty much already just covered our responses. This is basically our responses to what we need to do. In summary, I just want to leave this with a couple thoughts. We want to significantly reduce the amount of people to the event. That doesn't mean that we don't want to be permitted for a less amount of people. And the reason for this is because we need to be able to pay for the event. If you have X amount of people that are coming to an event, we don't really know how many they were, that's a problem. And that we want to reduce. And I think we can reduce and by selling the exact amount of tickets, I think we'll reduce the overall capacity by about a third, maybe even a little more. Also, to the amount of volunteers, it's really gotten out of hand. Over 4,000 last year. We want to really bring that number down. So I'm trying to cut it in half, or at least a third off of that as well. So by doing both of those things, I think we can bring the numbers down. The increased safety to the community, again, if the numbers come down, everything gets safer. So less demand on medical, less demand on fire, less demand on the production staff. If we increase the accountability and professionalism, well, we need to be accountable. Whoever's going to do the show, whether it's us or anybody else, needs to be accountable to the public. And it needs to be a clean, clear, transparent way of doing business. And people are going to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes, but we're just not going to make very many of them. So anyway, I'd just like to tell you thank you very much, and I appreciate the time to talk.
Thank you. Oh, excuse me, sir. Once you're used to the question, one of the comment letters we have was from the Southern Humboldt Community Healthcare District. I don't know if somebody from that district is here tonight to speak, but they brought up concerns about a lot of people ending up at the hospital that impacts them because they don't pay their bill. And I'm wondering, in relation, I know you weren't producing it last year, but how will your production differ? How will you address some of those concerns? I'm not suggesting that you go to their hospital, but the on-site health care, I saw your comment there that things were addressed, but it seems like there are a lot of people that are still leaving to go to the hospital, maybe more serious injuries or illnesses.
See, I talked to, I can't remember his name, I think Mark. Thank you, Mark Murray. And he said, yes, there was somewhere between 5 and 10 people that entered the hospital last year. Now, out of those 5 or 10, he said 4 or 5 of them didn't pay their bill. So they were stuck with, I think, $5,000 or $10,000 worth of bills. I think it's reasonable that the event paid for part of that. But I do want to make sure that it's reasonable. The idea is that it's a community event and for the community. So if the community is being impacted, then somehow we need to work that out. And so I'm willing to work out some kind of arrangement with them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Question, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Houston, maybe you could give us just a little more time to ask you some more questions.
Sure, no problem.
I'm a bit confused with some of your presentation and comments that you made. It makes me feel good that you say all these wonderful things that you're going to do, but I find some contradiction in some of the things that you're saying, so I'd like you to elaborate on that. On one hand, you say you're going to cut back on volunteers. You have 4,000, you're going to cut it back to 2,000. On the other hand, you say you're going to issue bands with numbers, tickets, and make sure that the right number of people are coming in. Now, my way of thinking, unless you put barbed wire all around that area and you have armed guards and create a Salt Lake 13 type of setup, I don't see how you can do that. You could issue 10,000 and say that that 10,000 is in, but you could also have another 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 coming in, and you have absolutely no control over that. So why are you saying that you can do that, or how are you going to do
You
it?
actually do have control over that.
How?
Well, I'll explain that to you. The first thing is, it's called double level layer security, which means that you have one outer perimeter, okay, that's either a fence with manpower, and you have a second layer that goes back about 20, 30 feet. And that second layer is what they call outpost security. You know, what they do is they watch for people that are coming through and they get them. A lot of times people make it through the fence, but then the security can't leave his position, so he's stuck at the fence while the guy's still going in. What you do is you get him on a second level of security. Now, I've done a lot of major festivals. You're right. People getting in free is a problem, but I don't think it's really that much of a problem in this event. This event went astray because of the ticketing. There's no accounting for the ticketing. If you look at how many tickets were actually purchased, you'll see it's 25,000 or better. So, you know, that needs to be looked at, and that's really the problem. It's not 4 or 5 people sneaking in. You're not 4 people sneaking in any event.
I don't understand, there were limits last year. How do you sell, I know how you sell. Why do you sell tickets in excess of the number that's permitted?
Honestly, between you and me, I don't think it was really actually sold. I think most of them were given away. I think that what happened was, you know, John Doe wanted 6, you know, Terry wanted 8, you know, he's a friend of my cousin, my aunt, my uncle, and you end up with all these extra tickets out there. And that's really what I think was going on. Not so much that they were actually sold by the production company, but they were given away. Now,
But
other
they're
people out in the
printed
community,
by the production company.
that's true. Yeah, and they're responsible for that, that's right.
Now, the other question or comment that I'd like to make is, last year, you were not here, but most everybody else that is going to talk or has already spoken were here. They did exactly the same thing as you are doing tonight.
No,
They made
no, actually, they
fantastic
didn't say that.
promises. Well, you weren't here, so you don't know what they said.
But I do know that they didn't say there were no tickets. I can tell you that.
But they assured the commission that they have security, they have volunteers, they will control everything. They understand the issues, they have tremendous respect for the community, they don't want to make the community unhappy, on and on and on and on, and the commission said, fine. And that's why the commission said, within a year, we'd like you to come back and give us a report and see if that works. So from my point of view, and my vote, your permit is on the line. This is not an issue that you have a permit for 10 years, we're just talking about numbers.
Well,
I'm looking at saying, no, I don't want to give you that permit because you didn't deliver last year.
well, let me explain, it wasn't me.
But that's irrelevant,
I understand.
you're not the applicant.
I'm representing that.
Yes, but Mateel is who, the attorney just clarified it for us. They're the ones that are asking for this permit and they have the permit, correct?
I understand.
And you're an employee of Mateel.
At the moment, yes.
Okay.